Hey everyone, welcome to Crossroad Conversations with the Lewis brothers, where we aim to share real stories about running a successful family business while working through adversity and pouring back into our community that keeps our doors open every single day. We're your hosts, Shelby, Matt, and Taylor, and we'll be bringing you real, relevant local business advice, maybe some automotive insights that are sure to change the way you look at running a business or buying a car, and maybe even throw in a plug for you to do business with us here locally. I think that's super important there. All right, if you want to take the next one there.
You bet. Next up is why leaders avoid fixing things. So if you think about that, I would say that most leaders out there, if you ask them what needed to be fixed in their business or what was going wrong, they could write it down and recite it to a T to you.
Yeah.
They just avoid fixing it. Why do you guys think that is?
Fear of conflict, fear of loss. Right? That if you actually stand somebody up for what they're not doing correctly, that you might lose that person.
Yep.
That's my first two.
I think I'm going to say exactly what you're saying about fear of conflict. Naturally, people, who wants to address somebody about a situation?
I'm about 10% of people love conflict, and they hang out on our Facebook page and everybody else's Facebook page. But the other 90% just kind of want to go through life and don't want conflict.
It's like, okay. So I think that is the number one.
Yep.
I'm going to put what number two, and it's not even listed here, but I think as leaders, we're afraid to be vulnerable because we think that employees think that we have it all figured out.
Right.
And if we show vulnerability of, I don't know what to do here, or I don't know what to answer, it's going to show weakness as a leader.
Yep.
Which is far from the truth.
Yep.
It's far from the truth. What do you think, Taylor?
I think both of y'all hit those on the head, but it's just, it's naturally your thought that you're going to lose not only control, but then fear, but you're going to step back in any progress that you've made in the business. And in my mind, if I have somebody in another role that I need to talk about that I've handed it off to, they're growing, and I know it irritates me, but I'm like in my mind knowing I have to step back now because I have to go back to this role that I thought was handled. We were moving forward. So not only is it the fear of conflict, but it really, I feel, disrupts your whole path of what you're trying to work on because it's something I have to step back into. Now I'm having to get back into this role because I thought it was taken care of, but in the part of like losing control because you're having to go back and take care of that area.
So think about this next statement I'm going to make, because this one, when I read it, really hit home with me, and I was like, oh, shoot, I didn't think about it that way. If you don't address it to everybody else, it shows that you've endorsed it.
Yes.
So if you avoid it because of conflict or because you're too busy, guess what the rest of the team thinks?
It's okay.
It's okay. You've endorsed that.
That's
No, he
the
hasn't said
idea.
anything. That's what he
right.
wants.
Yeah.
It's okay to come in later. It's okay to not pick up the trash. It's okay to not open the door for people. It's okay to not call them back.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And you just assume that everyone's like, no, that's not right? Like we were raised differently. You should understand that as a grown human being, right, wrong, here's how you do it. But assume is just the greatest word that is overlooked, that you're assuming these people will do all this and they won't.
You got to think about, now I'm going to go back to like when you were a kid, okay? Especially if you guys were trying to hang out with somebody that's older, okay? And it was in that group of friends or wherever it was, you were doing whatever you could to kind of fit in their culture, to be accepted.
Yes.
So as we get new hires in, if we don't make sure our culture's there, the new people that are coming in, they're going to mold to that.
Yes.
And they're just going to assume that's accepted. He doesn't ask me about my phone calls. He doesn't ask me about my open ROs. He doesn't ask me about this. We don't take the time to, if the bathroom, I don't know, I'm being silly here, but if the bathroom's messed up, to address it.
You know, it's funny. I was just introduced to a new delivery specialist we have this morning. And that's the thing, like when there's a new employee, we say, hey, we want them to meet everyone. And I mean everyone, right? So they understand. And we send out a newsletter that says, hey, new employee, here's a picture of them because I want to be able to see a name, picture, and some info about them. But what I will always tell a new hire is, hey, we're so glad to have you. Ask lots of questions. Ask lots of questions. Remember the good things and block out all the bad things. Right? So I'll tell that to a new hire. Ask lots of questions. Remember all the good things and block out all the bad things. Like I'm trying to give them a heads up of, in a quick elevator speech of, you're going to get stuff thrown at you that's people trying to erode the culture.
Yes.
Block that out.
Yeah.
The good things that you feel like are the good things, so it's not like a fraternity hazing thing. Like, block those things out. Here's the good things. Here's the good people that are helping me, and I need to ask a lot of questions, take a lot of notes.
That's great you say that. I'm going to give another tip here, and it's a little bit off subject, but it's not because it compounds on what you're talking about. Here's what I have to do, because I don't have the best memory in the world, and I've convinced myself, because like so much stuff's coming at me, you only have so much capacity. If I don't have some anchors to remember things, especially names, it's very difficult for me to remember names. Right. So just like Shelby said, asking questions, I'll ask a new employee about non-automotive related things. So like what they had done in the past, where they were from, things they're proud of, their hobbies. And then I take those, and when I'm either talking to you guys or somebody else, when we talk about a new employee, I re-talk about, hey, they played football here. Yeah. They do this, they do that, because they're key anchors for me. Plus, they're proud about them. Yeah. And then you guys, when you walk by, say, hey, Matt told me that you were really big into rock climbing. Yeah. And it makes that make me feel special. Like, come on.
Well, you're talking human. You're not just talking code, like... You're talking human, and you're talking about them, right? It's not just, hey, when we hire a new person, this, and this, right?
Yeah, that's really good. That statement again of, if you don't address it, you've endorsed it. I hope business leaders out there hear that. I do, and it's helping me, and I'm going to remember this going forward of like, shoot, if I don't address it, the rest of my employees in my culture go, well, he must have changed his opinion on that, and he's okay with it now.
Yeah, and I think before we move on, it's important just to understand, even if it's a high performer. Yeah. Even if it's a high performer, it's even more important of a high performer. Now, it's important how you handle it. Yeah. But it's important that you understand the communication to help keep the culture in the direction you want to go, instead of creating culture friction. Because a high performer is going to be a high talker. Yep. Right? And a high visual for everyone else.
They're influencing the others.
Oh, yeah. Whether they say, hey, everybody look at me, or they just naturally, everyone looks at them, right? So it's important that you bring them in and say, hey, here's the goal, here's the expectations, here's how I want to help, what can I do to help you help, right? And you're asking that question, give a narrative, but you're asking that question, so then they feel important. Yeah. And say, hey, is there anything I can do specifically to help with your schedule to make sure we're on target, on key here? Because otherwise, you're going to be like, hey, why so-and-so leave at 3 o'clock? Or why don't he do this? It's like, hey, here's the goal, here's the game plan, here's what we're doing. And it shouldn't be anybody else's business, but it just becomes that, right?
It does. All right, I've got 4 questions. So each of y'all are going to get 2 of them, okay? And we'll go down, we'll rotate back and forth. And try to give a quick answer here, but we want to help everybody out there maybe deal with or figure out how to fix that they're avoiding fixing things, okay? So here we go. Taylor, let's start off with you. Okay. Why do we delay uncomfortable conversations?
Because it's not natural, and we've already kind of talked about that, but it's not natural of going into, man, I just don't want to do that, and it's an uncomfortable conversation always seems like it pops up to me whenever something good's happening. And the last thing I'm going to do is pour water on top of a fire whenever somebody's already chugging along.
Like, no, let me enjoy this. It's rolling for just a minute.
Like I had a salesman that did something, went through deposits, which happens in this game, and he's the one that ultimately needs to be punished through it. The last thing you want to do in a salesman, especially when he's selling, you go and tell a sales manager, hey, we're going to take that from him. Great. I just put the fire out now on my salesperson. But you need to have those
But you have to address it. Do. Otherwise, it's like, nope, we're good. Nope, we're good. And they're like, I'll do it again. Yep. Because they're saying I got away with it. They're saying I got away with it. So it's one of those things where you got to address it and say, we don't do it like this. Yeah. Right? You did wrong. Now we've got a tough situation where your customer thinks he got the car. This customer thinks they locked the car down. Yes. And you're the center of all this. Yeah. And so you got to go over, and then you got to figure out how to say, okay, let's find your customer another vehicle, and try to keep them elevated, keep their fire burning. But you're going to have to bring it down some.
No, that's a good answer on that. All right, Shelby, when does patience turn into perseverance?
It's a lot of word. To permissiveness. So
you know what I mean? Translate.
Yeah, I totally got you there. So when your patience of just like your patience and your patience and your patience, and it's kind of like the tea kettle that just explodes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the untranslated, in my opinion, it's the untranslated expectation. So your patience, and if you haven't clearly communicated what you expect, then it switches over to the permissiveness of like that person assumes it's okay that I do this, or they assume I'm doing the right thing, right? And so it's like, no, you are not, in my definition, you are not okay to be doing that.
Yeah.
And my patience, now I'm exploded. That's not okay. That's not the game plan. That's not how we do it. So you have to be careful that you don't go too far in that.
No, I think that's good. All right, Taylor, how do you handle a high performer who creates culture friction?
You have to keep them in check, and a lot of times they will go past all other avenues, and ultimately has to be a person you handle as the owner, the leader of the business, that handle them and put them back into check. But it gets to a point, and we've had them in the past, that it gets to a point that if they will not continue to perform and they're disrupting like completely against what your culture is, you've got to move on. You've got to move on to a different way, because it definitely gets past the point of where the juice is not worth the squeeze, and it's easy to overlook that.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to handle them and hold them accountable, and a lot of times only you can do that.
Yeah.
You can't have another manager do that, because they just blow over the top of them. And then the manager's mad. Then it doesn't resolve anything. So you ultimately have to be the one that handles and holds them accountable, because you can kick them a little bit harder than what another manager
I think
could.
two things you hit there. When you're talking about a high performer, the correct person's got to address them.
Yeah.
And number two, you got to realize a high performer has high visibility within your business too. So you must pull them in and like sit down and close the door.
Yeah.
There's something about atmosphere that changes when you pull an employee or an athlete in a room, sit down, close the door. It's like, we're getting ready to talk business here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's no show, there's no cameras, there's nobody else.
Yeah.
We're talking here.
Yeah. It
takes
all the fluff out of it really fast.
It does.
It's just proper expectation. It's one of those things that if you continue to circle to it, this is a team of 275 people or 5 people or 3,000 people, whatever size your team or business is, and it cannot be centered around one person and one person's changing of that culture if it's not the way you want to do. And sometimes, like Taylor said, you got to part ways, right? If you can't correct it, and a high performer, that does not come at a easy decision or a light decision or a quick decision. But then sometimes you continue to hold the friction to like, here's a standard, here's a standard, here's a standard, and it'll generally take care of itself. Like if they're not willing to pull the cart equally plus, then they're gonna say this isn't for me. And then and at the end of the day, and that's tough, and that's feathers get ruffled. That's what was best for the team.
Yeah. I've got one more question for you, but you just hit on something, and I got to say this because this is big. Do remember this: if you have a high performer that is hurting your culture, it's more important than a low performer that you hit it head on and you keep your thumb on it rapidly, because I can promise you if it ends up being sour that you got to part ways, they will try to take the ship down with them.
Yep.
And they have the ear of everybody else in the department because they've set the bar.
Yep.
So you got to address it in hammer time.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Shelby. What happens to the team when the leader avoids correction?
The leader kind of loses its leadership, right? The North Star loses its North Star.
It's not so much north anymore, is it?
No, it's kind of like ebb and flow, and he's the boss, but I run this place, right? That happens, right? And you start seeing like a step below that manager is like, we've talked about time a whole lot. I'll come and go as I please. I clock 60 hours a week or 80 hours a week, and then whether it's the truth or not, the leader has not properly had that closed door conversation or said, hey, let's work on your schedule. You are killing it. Can I get you to work night shifts or something? Whatever, right? But then you lose that pyramid of understanding and teaching and coaching of each different layer there. And so you got to either correct that, fix that, or rehire that, or whatever that may be. Because if you just let it, it will erode.
It will, for sure. For sure. All right, on to the myth buster.
If I ignore it, it will fix itself.
I've tried it. I don't
Does
know
it
about
work?
y'all.
Yeah.
No, it fails every single time.
It's like one of those prairie dogs that just pops its head up from another hole.
And I've done it more on the side of with an employee not performing. And so I've handed reports out to them. Mm-hmm. I've gone over it in a group situation.
So you're addressing it, just not like a straight address.
Just like straight. But I'm like, surely they get it.
They don't.
They don't. And I can look back, guys, how many times I should have done my advice I just said 3 minutes ago. And I should have taken that same report after the meeting and sat them down in the office and closed the door.
But you're not wrong in that. And you're not alone in that.
No.
Is because oftentimes if you have to have a coaching counseling session of what's right, what's wrong, what's different, what do we need to work on, you think about, I do at least, and I know you guys do, you think about the ramifications of that conversation. And we're talking about the ramifications of you don't have it. But if you do have it, what's it going to do to the team?
I know.
And so you're thinking about, okay, when should I do this? Like, I don't want to do it first thing because I don't want to run their day, right? And I need them to be positive to coach and help out the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. And then crap, I don't want to do it at the end of the day because they're going to go home to their family and I'm over it and I don't want to do it, but I know I need to do it. So you just sit and so when's the correct time? It's now.
I can tell you another thing that I go through in my mind, the exact same things you talk about, timing, because we're in an emotional
it's the first
and a
momentum.
momentum.
It's the end of the month.
Or we need to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
You know, the other one too with me though, is I don't get wound up upset very often, but I know that when I do, it's going to take so much for me to calm back down, and it's going to affect all the rest of the team. Even though I'm never going to do it in front of everybody.
Yeah.
I know that I've got to work through that too, and I'm like, dang, I've got this coming up and this coming up and this coming up that I got to be in the right mindset for. I can't address it now because it's going to affect those 4 other things.
So I don't know that anybody has the right timing for that, right?
Know.
But the timing is, one, do your best not to be wound up. Now, if you could just control yourself, you're not overly going to get wound up. Mm-hmm. It's when the other person has their feelings and thoughts and opinion about it and you have to correct that. Mm-hmm. That's when you get wound up because you're sitting there boiling because it's blatantly clear and honest how they are not holding up their end of the stick. And you're like, what about this? What about this? What about this? And at the end, as cool, calm, and collected as you're going to be, you're still going to be riled up.
Your emotions are going to evolve. And for everybody to understand, we're not talking about addressing somebody showing up 15 minutes late.
No.
These are hard conversations.
Yeah, this is continual. They've worked with you for a long time, whatever.
Where's this money going? Why aren't we holding out for this?
Yes.
What the heck's going on here?
Why do we?
That there's a lot of opinions and emotions involved.
Right. And you do your best to have facts, so it's not opinion driven.
Yeah.
And if you can have another person with you, that generally helps as well.
It
keeps
does.
The fire down and it keeps proof and helps there as well. But if you ignore it, you approve it.
Yep, that's right.
If you ignore it,
And you'll figure out in a whole lot of situations too to hit off of that. Whenever you have your facts and you're going over it, this will be a quick sight in looking down the tracks of if that employee continues to deny it when you have facts, that's helping you make your decision of, hey, I need to move forward in this aspect. So remember that whenever you're sitting down and you have your other person that you're going over with, always have the facts there because then it helps you make a logical, non-emotional decision.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a like, share it with your friends and family, even visit our website, send us the questions about what you want to know, what you want to hear, tell us about the automotive industry, family business in general. Who do you want to hear from? Send them our way, and we'll do our best to answer any questions you have, but make sure you tune in next time where we bring in another guest and we talk more about the automotive industry and all the great things going on within our business.